Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today we have got another Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 Prestige class for you. And today, coming at you from the Complete Arcane, we have got ourselves, wait for it, Seeker of the Song. And sorry about the bing there. Lighting's a little bad there. Gonna be another one probably. Alright, so the Seeker of the Song. What we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about what the Seeker of the Song is. Then we're going to talk about what it takes to become a Seeker of the Song. Then we're going to talk about what you get as a Seeker of the Song. And finally, we're going to talk about how good the Seeker of the Song is and how you might use it in a build. So let's get started. So the Seeker of the Song, it's an interesting one. So it is a type of bard that has heard the music. They've heard, what is it? I'm trying to remember the exact term that they use. Um, the primal music. That was the word. There we go. It's been a minute since I read it. By a minute, I mean like an hour. Anyways, yeah. So it's been so the primal music that they hear it and they become so fascinated by it that they find themselves compelled to study it and learn it and to grow with this primal music. It consumes them. It's a big part of their life. Now, in game statistic standpoints, it's a class that, it's a bard that has decided to focus on music and to kind of ignore all other aspects of the bard and just really focus on the music. So yeah, that's the Seeker of the Song. Now, let's talk about what it takes to become a Seeker of the Song. So to become a Seeker of the Song, you need Knowledge Arcana 13 ranks and Perform Anyone 13 ranks. So you're going to need 2 skills at 13 ranks, which is going to require 10th level. You're going to need 10 levels to get in, so you will not be able to start this till 11th level. That is a little bit of a late entry, which is kind of good in a way. If you want to go epic with this, you don't have to worry about one of the downsides. We'll get to that here in a bit. Let's see. Special. It requires the bardic music ability, so you're going to need a level of bard to get in, pretty much. You might be able to get in with like another type of bardic music, but most of those require bardic music, so you'll probably need a level of bard, which isn't so bad. Let's see. And you must have been exposed to the primal music by hearing another Seeker of the Song use Seeker music ability. So you have to have heard another Seeker of the Song use their Seeker music at least once in your life. And from a RP perspective, you will have, once you heard that, you will have had to have been fascinated by it, and like it kind of consumed your brain, and you just couldn't stop thinking about it. Like that'll be an RP thing that has to be in there. That's something that you can easily just say, yeah, my character's been doing that. But yeah, that's something that you're definitely will have happened to your character. They will have been consumed. Their thoughts will have been consumed by that music from when they heard it. Yeah. So nothing really to say on that. That's what it takes to get in. Let's talk about what you get. So first off, D6 hit dice. Decent, same as the bard, so that's something. Average base attack bonus, again, same as the bard. So not so bad. I guess they're not giving up everything. They at least keep the tankiness of the bard, which is and the tankiness and the combat abilities, which again are not the best, but they're decent. They get a good will save, but a bad fort and reflex. Okay, that's something. Skills, it's 4+ int. Their skill list is actually quite good. So yeah, pretty good skill list. Really solid stuff. They're not going to get spellcraft, but they're not a caster, so that's really not the end of the world. But they get all sorts of important stuff like spot and listen. So very good skill list, and 4+ int is that's all right skill points. So their skills are okay. Next up, let's see. They get well. First off, let's talk about one important thing that they don't get, and that is casting progression. Bards are a big caster. That's a major part of what they are. They get 6th level spells eventually. They're easily the 5th best caster in core. Um, Although they're a far stretch from 4th or 6th. The wizard, sorcerer, druid, and cleric, all way better casters than the bard. And the bard blows the paladin and ranger away by a mile in terms of casting abilities. But still a very solid caster. Very squarely in that 5th place in core. In both directions. But you don't get casting progression with this, which is significant. That there is no casting from it. You are going to lose a significant portion of what a bard is. But the big thing bards get that they really strive is the music, and that is something they're going to get in a big way. So let's talk about the music. First off, they get Rapture of the Song. This is actually quite nice. So basically, whenever they use any sort of bardic music kind, whether it's from this class, whether it's actual bardic music, or whether it's from something like Sublime Chord, or from I'm trying to remember what the one from Complete Warrior was. I just did a video on that like a couple weeks ago. I'm spacing the name. At least from my perspective, as these videos don't come out when I record them half the time. But yeah. Anyways, War Chanter, there we go. War Chanter would work too. So anytime they use any of these kinds of abilities, they're going to get bonuses. They get a +2 to AC whenever they do that. At least initially, it's a +2 to AC. The AC bonus stays the same forever, but eventually they'll also get a +2 to saves, and then they'll gain DR2, and it's DR2/dash. So this is the best kind of DR. It's only 2, but they get 2 off of anything that's not energy damage. That's pretty nice. And then they also get eventually they get freedom of movement. This is just, and they just get all of these effects whenever they use bardic music. So that's big. Freedom of movement's pretty nice too. You're not going to get that till 10th level, but yeah, these are some pretty nice things that they get. Next up, the Seeker music itself. It will stack with bardic music in terms of the whole, your levels of this still stack with your bard levels for determining how many music attempts you can get per day. Basically, it's all the same pool. There's not a Seeker pool and a bard pool. No, it's all the same bardic music pool. It's not separate at all. That will stack. Now, another thing that's interesting about Seeker music, and that's very special to Seeker music, is a lot of the Seeker songs, not all, but probably about 3/4 of them, have a refrain. And they can only use the refrain when using the song itself. But when they use the refrain, they can use an additional bardic music attempt to get the effect of the refrain. And this will not end the song either, so they can still continue gaining the effect of the song, and basically they can just use the refrain every round as a swift action to attack. Pretty much all the refrains are attacks, so they can attack with the refrain every round. It will use up bardic music attempts, so it's something that is something that will consume your resources. You get, a number of them equal to your level. Your bard plus seeker level plus, if you have other classes like sublime. Well, no, I don't think sublime chord would. It doesn't. It's sublime chord, which stacks, but it's not 1-to-1. Or war chanter, which does stack 1-to-1. It's only going to be equal to the level of all those combined. And of course, the Sublime Chord, it's not the full. But anyways, yeah. That's basically, so you're going to be limited on that. But if you're going to be doing like a dungeon crawl, you might run out of uses. But if you're only doing a few battles a day, that's not so bad. It's definitely far less limiting than something like Turn Undead or something. At least at high levels. At early levels, it's actually very limiting. But you'll be 11th level by the time you enter this, so not too limiting. So next up, you get. Let's talk about the specific things they get. So first off, they get Burning Melody, which will make it so that anyone who hears it gains gains energy resistance 15 fire. So they just get fire resist 15. Not bad. Pretty decent. And the refrain is interesting. The refrain it'll give you a 30-foot cone of fire, which does offer a reflex save, but the save is actually going to be based off of your perform skill. So it's effectively going to be 13 plus level, assuming you're maxing out your perform. So that's actually really solid, and that's a DC that a lot of characters are going to struggle to make. So, things like evasion aren't going to be as much of a hindrance as most things with saves, because the save DC for these are quite high. It's generally going to be 13 plus your character level, which is significant. Like at 20th level, that's 33. And that's true for a lot of their refrain attacks. So yeah, pretty good. And it does 10d6 fire damage or something like that. Let's see, 66 fire damage. That's not bad, especially since it's a cone. Then they get Song of Unmaking. Song of Unmaking is interesting because this works only against constructs, but any construct within 30 feet of them. So this is just a burst attack. This is one that they're not going to be able to do like every round. They can, but it'll take a use every time. But yeah, Song of Unmaking, it will cause constructs to take, what is it? It's level D8. Yeah, that was what it was. Oh, that's nasty. And there's no saves, so the constructs just take the damage. It's a supernatural ability too, so there's really no saving against that. Yeah. Then they get the Dirge of Frozen Lost. Very similar to the fire one. Just gives cold resist 15. This refrain is also similar. Basically, that one will make a line of cold energy. Again, reflex save, same save before, so effectively, assuming you're maxing out your perform, which you should be. In fact, if you're getting in this as early as you can and you want to maintain and you want to actually be using all the song effects, you're going to need to keep that perform check maxed out. You are going to, so it will effectively be your character level plus 13 will be the save. So very good. Yeah, really, really nice. Let's see. Then they get the Song of Life. This one's okay. This one will let you, activate the song in order to hit somebody with, a touch. You activate it and then you touch somebody, and then you can heal them a number of damage equal to your perform check. So it's a perform check, not the skills. So if you have it max ranks, plus, you're going to have skill focus on perform. Did I mention that was a feat that was required? I think I might have skipped that on the earlier part. Yeah, you need this feat skill focus perform. But anyways, if you've taken some things to up your perform, you can heal a decent amount of damage. So that one could potentially be a decent in combat one, although it is going to take some damage. Oh, that's the refrain that does that. Sorry. So basically it just gives you immune to poison and disease, but the refrain will heal. There we go. Sorry, I messed up on that one. But yeah, 4th level. It does say that it takes a and then to heal it will take a swift action and it takes a standard action again to actually cast it, or actually to touch them. So it will take both a swift and a standard action in order to use. Typically, I mean, I suppose if you found a way to just be touching them constantly, that will work. Or if you want to use it on yourself, then you don't have to spend a standard action to touch them. But yeah. Let's see. Then they get the Anthem of Thunder and Pain, which again, it's similar to the others. This gives you electricity resistance 15. That's really all it does. The refrain's not bad. It will give you a bonus to, well, it will let you make a ray attack. It's very similar to Chain Lightning, the spell. Basically, you make a ranged touch attack against someone, and then they'll take 10d6 points of damage. And then they'll take half as much. And then you can, bring that out to, several other people. Initially one, but very quickly it goes up to 2, and then eventually 3 people that'll each take half. So very, very similar to Chain Lightning. And this one, it's a ranged touch attack. There's no save, so you don't get that benefit of being harder to resist than most spells. So it is what it is. Although these are all supernatural abilities, they're not spell-like, so spell resistance isn't going to apply. So that's good. Then they get the Hymn of Spell Death. This one is actually really good. While doing this, anyone who tries to cast a spell will have to make a concentration check opposed by your perform check, which your perform check, if you're going all out with it, odds are the other guy's going all out with their concentration. But they're going to be like equal at that point, which means they're going to have a 50-50 shot of performing their skill of like actually casting any spell. And if they fail, the spell's just wasted. So they effectively just have an additional spell failure on top of any other spell failure, which they probably don't have. They do, that's even worse for them and better for you. And if they're not upping their concentration like crazy, like you are with your perform, well, guess what? They're almost never going to be able to get any spells off. And that's going to shut down those spellcasters hard. But even if they are keeping up with their concentration, you're still shutting them down 50% of the time, which is huge, assuming you're keeping your perform up. So yeah, that's big. Hymn of Spell Death. The refrain is actually less impressive. It lets you cast a area, dispel magic. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. It's sort of like Dispel Magic. It's actually a little like Greater Dispel Magic. I guess since it's not capped, that has some advantages. But yeah, it's okay. It's only the area one. It has to be centered on you, although you can exclude people from the effect if you want. So you can do an area Dispel Magic and then say like, well, I want to dispel all the spells in the area except for on me, and then like my buddy over here, and then this other guy, like we'll keep them out of it. So you can choose like who you want to affect with it, which is nice. And something that I don't think you can normally do with the with the area Dispel Magic. You get eventually they get the Ballad of Agony Reborn. That one gives acid resistance 15, and then the refrain will do 15d6 points of damage to a single person with a touch attack, and then 15d6 the next turn, which this does count as damage over time, which will mess up spellcasters. It will force a spellcaster who's casting any spell during that turn to have to make a concentration check equal to the damage dealt, which they can probably make, and it would only be the that second 10d6, but they're still going to have to make that concentration check, or drop their spell. So pretty nice. I think if it's only a standard action, I think it's like halved, but it is what it is. It makes it really hard for them to do stuff. Honestly, combining that with this Hymn of Spell Death could be really devastating to a caster having to deal with both at the same time. and with combined music, which is a thing that they get, which we'll get into in a bit. Very useful. They also get the Aria of Everywhere. That just basically lets them use a bardic music attempt to make a very short range teleport, like with Dimension Door, except they can't bring anyone with them. Very similar to the monk ability, except for this uses a bardic music attempt and isn't once per day, unlike that, and it's really short range. The monk one goes way farther. But honestly, the fact that you can just teleport around the battlefield, you can swift action teleport around the battlefield for a bardic music attempt. Pretty good, actually. And it is swift action because of another ability that they get later. They also get the Dirge of Song Death at 9th level. This one's interesting. This one is actually hurts other bards. So if the enemy has a bard in that, they'll have to make an opposed perform check against you if you're using this in order for them to actually be able to cast any bard music. Not only that, but this one also gives sonic resistance 15 to your party, I believe. Yeah. Or I think it gives 50. Let's see. Yeah, 15 sonic resistance and that. So it's pretty nice. And then the refrain, it makes it so that it creates a ray that they have to make a touch attack, and it does 15d6 sonic damage. So that one's not bad either. Then finally they get the Note of Solitude. This one's problematic. This one will force any outsiders to return home. But they get a will save, and it is the same DC, but the opponent gets a bonus to their save equal to their hit dice. Which, if their hit dice are equal to your class level, it's going to be a flat 13 save. So that's problematic, because that's pretty easy to hit. Yeah. Now, if they happen to be lower level, then you might have a chance. But it does hit everyone within 60 feet, so that's something. But it does take an additional bardic music every time you do it. You have to do this once per round, so that's a bit of an issue. But it's a pretty solid one. Yeah. So that's what they get. Well, it's a pretty solid one when it works, although it's not likely to work often. Anyways, next up they get Combined Songs at 2nd level. Quite nice. They can do 2 bardic music at once, or 2 seeker music, or however they want to do it. Whether or not this would stack with something like with the combined song effects from another class that gets it, hard to say. That's very much a DM call. I think rules as written it would be no, but there's an argument to make that for every one you get, you can do one more song, although that it's a skeptical argument. Anyways, next up they get sub-vocalize all their bardic music, and so any music effect they cast, instead of being a standard action like normal to start it, they can do it as a swift action, so that's really nice. Yeah, and that's all they're going to get, although there is one more thing of note. Seeker of the Song does require that once you enter it, you have to continue at it, and if you ever take a level of anything other than Seeker of the Song, once you've taken your first level, you can never take another level of this again. It's the same thing that monks and paladins have, except monks and paladins, there's ways around it with prestige classes, which they can take those and freely class between them. And there's also some feats that will let them freely class between, certain things. So there's ways around it. Heck, even with monk, if they take what was it, the Enlightened Fist, then they can freely class with any class that gives arcane spell progression, and that won't mess with it. So there's certainly some ways to get around those. With this is a prestige class itself, and there's like not a lot of like specific support for this particular prestige class. So I'd be very surprised if there was any way around the Seeker's cap. So once you stop taking levels, you kind of have to stop and never take another level. One advantage of this is, which brings me to when I was saying earlier, the advantage of the fact that you get a late entry. So if you go into this as early as you possibly can, take your 10 levels, you can then immediately go into Epic. That's not something that you can do with a lot of prestige classes, because you get in there as early as you get your 10 levels, and then you got to wait 4 or 5 levels before you can continue advancing it, because you can't take epic prestige class levels until you're epic. You got to be 21st level to take an epic anything. Whereas, so you would, with this, you wouldn't have to worry about that, because by the time you get, because you're going to be 21st level guaranteed. So that's great. Yeah. I'm not sure how this would work epic. This would be a weird one to see an epic build out. But to figure, because they get different stuff all the time, to figure out how they would advance would be a little bit of a trick. Anyways, let's look at, so let's talk about how good they are. Well, they get some pretty good stuff. Sub vocalize is great. Their rapture of the song, really nice. The fact that they get those bonuses, that freedom of movement effect at 10th level is really great, and really the main reason why you would want 10 levels in this, because you're not getting a whole lot after 7th level. I guess Dirge of Song Death isn't bad at 9th. So likely you would get more Seeker music, since they get a new one every level. If this one epic, it'd probably have more. They'd probably have to come up with new stuff. But anyways, so this one's not bad. It's a good. There's good advantages, good disadvantages. You're giving up all your spell casting progression, so that's a bit of an ouch. Especially seeing as you are going to have to be 10. It's going to take 10 levels to get in. Possibly a good idea to maybe not take 10 levels of Bard, because you are giving up a lot. Maybe jump into something else that you can get in earlier. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but you might be able to get into something like what was the prestige class? The other one I was talking about just now, I've already said it a few times. The War Chanter. That might be an earlier entry one you could use to get into Sublime Chord, not Sublime Chord, Seeker of the Song early. Well, you wouldn't get in early, but you could take that instead of Bard and gain those effects. You want to take things that aren't going to progress your casting, because your casting is going to be terrible. The fact that you're not getting any for these 10 levels is a big deal. There might be some alternate class features that give up spellcasting progression for bards. That might be that might be a thing to look at if you're going for something like this. You're going to focus on the music. It's all about the music for you. That's basically what these guys get. They're pretty solid. Some of the other nice things that they get. Let's see, what were some of the really highlight things? That's Hymn of Spell Death, super, super nice. Then of course, their early ones, and the saves, the fact that they're really good saves, very, very nice. Honestly, I really can see the Dirge of Song Death be pretty good as well, to shut down an enemy bard if your opponent happens to have an enemy bard. Plus sonic damage is really nice. So just being able to do 15d6 sonic damage, pretty solid. So if your opponent, if your enemy has a bard on their team and you happen to go first, starting up Song Death can be really nice. Force your opponent's bard to, not be able to do his bardic music. I mean, eventually he'll probably get it, but there's a decent chance he'll end up using multiple, bardic music attempts in multiple turns before he can get started with his bardic music, which will give you an advantage. It'll give you a chance to, have the bardic music buffs while your opponent doesn't. Very, very nice. And of course, spell death, making it so your opponent can't cast spells. Very big. Yeah, a lot of really good things that these guys get. It's a solid prestige class, in all honesty. But yeah, if you're gonna go with it, you need to make sure that you really should try and de-emphasize any spell casting, because spell casting is really good in 3.5, and you're giving that up. So yeah, that's the Seeker of the Song. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel for more D&D 3.5 content, because I do one of these on every single class, race, and prestige class in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. So ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video. Anyways, as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you